When I was in college and the placement season was about to start, I had done no development at all. I only did computer programming and I only learned data structures and algorithms. So at the last moment, I decided to learn web development, and that too full stack web development. So in the last 30 days of placements, in just 30 days, I learned full stack development from scratch, and I didn't use any online course. I just learned using free resources, and today I'm going to tell you how I did that. So I'm going to tell you how I learned full stack web development in just 30 days. I'm going to tell you what I learned, from where I learned, and the way that I followed. Now, let me tell you honestly first that you cannot fully learn full stack development in just 30 days. It's not possible because it's a huge complex field, right? You cannot learn everything in just 30 days. But in 30 days, you can learn the frameworks, you can learn the technologies, and you can create some good projects which will still impress your interviewer, and you can still put full stack in your resume if you work hard enough. So you're going to give it proper amount of time for the next 30 days and you're going to learn it properly. Now, so this is what I did. First, I had no idea what web development was. I had done no web development. I didn't have computer science in my 12th class, so I didn't know HTML, CSS even. So I started with HTML. I learned the basic syntax, whatever was there in HTML, and HTML is like, you know, the building block of a website. So I didn't follow any resource for HTML. I just googled online and I experimented. So I made some few static websites where it just had a picture of me and had one link, and that link would forward to another page. So I just created some very simple web pages using HTML, and I just experimented around, and using experimentation by creating a lot of simple web pages, I got comfortable with HTML syntax. So I wouldn't suggest any resource or any course for HTML. I would suggest just learn HTML by making a lot of web pages. The simple web pages, if you keep making them, you will get comfortable with how HTML works. Now, once you're comfortable with HTML, then the next thing is that you need to learn CSS. So CSS is basically beautifying your HTML page. You have created an HTML page, you can use CSS to just beautify it. Okay, and CSS is a little bit complex, so you don't need to go too deep into it as a beginner, but you do need to understand the basic concepts of CSS. Now again, I would not suggest any resource for CSS. You can just Google and use experimentation, use your imagination to make your website a little better using CSS. And CSS, you can look into Bootstrap, you can see how you can use it in your website, and then create a good website just using HTML and CSS. So the process we're following right now is learning by doing. Okay, so create a good website using just HTML and just CSS. Now, HTML and CSS is fine for creating static websites, but you do need JavaScript if you want your website to be dynamic. So the next thing that you're going to do is learn JavaScript. Now, learning JavaScript is not the same as C++ or Java. If you learn C++ and Java, you learn the basic syntax, input, output, if-else loops, and array string, and that's done. But JavaScript, you do need to learn a little bit in depth, because you'll be using JavaScript to make your website dynamic. So for JavaScript, you can follow a course on YouTube. I'll give a link in the description. There's a course of JavaScript for web development. You can see that and use that, and then create a good website where you use HTML, you use CSS, and you make the website dynamic using JavaScript. So you can create something like a basic login page. Even if the login page is not working, you can just make a basic login page, for example. So create a good website using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, everything that you have learned till now. Now, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is just the bare minimum of becoming a web developer. If you say that you're a web developer and you only know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then hardly anyone will give you a job. You do need to learn some frameworks. So web development is it's front end and back end, and full stack includes both front end and back end. So let's focus on front end first. So for front end, you have few frameworks. You have React.js, you have Vue.js, you have Next.js. You have some frameworks that will make your job easier, and from that you can choose anyone. I will suggest React.js. I also learned React.js, and React.js will be a little complicated when you first learn it, but it's there to make your job easier. Whatever you were doing in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, if you use React.js, your job will become much easier. So because React.js is a little bit difficult, I'm going to suggest you to follow a course on YouTube, which is Code with Harry's React.js course. There's a lot of React.js courses on YouTube, but the best one is Code with Harry's React.js course. Follow along with that and make some simple project. You can make a blogging website, you can make an e-commerce website, and focus on the front end for now. We still haven't gone into the back end. So learn React.js properly, give it 2 to 3 hours every day, and within some days you'll be able to get comfortable in React.js, and within a week or 2 weeks you can make a good project in React.js using only focusing on the front end. Now you've learned front end, now you need to learn back end. And back end part is a little bit tricky. So what exactly happens in back end is the things happening behind the scene. So the website you look at, for example, suppose you created an e-commerce website, then the website you look at is the front end. But suppose a user or a customer registers on that website. So how the processing happens, how the data is being stored in the database, that is what happens in backend. So in backend, you need to know Node.js, which is a framework that you will be using for backend. And apart from that, you need to have knowledge of databases. So first, I would suggest to you, learn databases, learn briefly about databases, SQL, and how you can store data in databases. Once you learn that, then you can learn Node.js. Again, Node.js will be a little bit difficult, so you can follow along a YouTube course. Again, you can follow Code with Harry, or you can follow FreeCodeCamp. So learn Node.js properly, learn the attributes of Node.js, learn how you can use it to connect the front end and to create the back end of your application. Once you learn Node.js, once you learn databases, you can learn MongoDB, which is a database that is part of the MERN stack, which is what you will be using for storing the data in the databases. Now, after learning HTML, CSS and JavaScript, after learning React.js, after learning Node.js and MongoDB, now you're going to create your ACE project. So this is what I call the ACE project. This is the project which will be the highlight of your resume, and this will be the project that will convince or show the employer, the interviewer, that you have skills in full stack web development. So create a project that incorporates both front end, both back end, and it incorporates everything that you've learned so far. So you can, now what I suggest normally is that everyone has some startup ideas, right? So you might have some startup ideas in college. For example, a friend of mine wanted to create a edtech startup, right? So she made that project as part of her resume, that full stack project she just made, where she had actually integrated a payment gateway, she had some databases, she had some cool front end, and that was her ACE project. So you can make an ACE project like that. If you have some startup idea, try to make that your ACE project. You can even deploy it somewhere and try to make something which is a little bit complex, not something simple, but try to make something which is a little bit complex and a little bit unique. And if it solves a real life problem, then all the much better. But make a pretty cool project. You can take inspiration online, you can search for project ideas online, you can even look at clones, apps online, but create a good project. So your resume will depend a lot on this ACE project, because this is what will tell the interviewer that you know full stack web development. And after you've done the project, after you've made the project, then you can deploy it on GitHub or somewhere else, put it in your resume and show it to the interviewer. So that's pretty much it. Within 30 days, you'll have to work hard, you'll have to put in the dedication, and you'll have to struggle a little bit because you don't have a lot of time, but you can still learn it, not fully, but you can learn a considerable part of it and make a pretty good project. So that's pretty much it. In case you have any doubts, let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to answer. Thank you.